Look around for a moment. If you're 25, 35, maybe 45 years old, there's a good chance you're doing fine on the outside, but on the inside, something feels off. You wake up, go to work, pay the bills, answer the messages, repeat the routine. Life keeps moving, but you feel stuck, disconnected, numb, almost like you're watching your own life instead of living it. Your job keeps the lights on, but it doesn't light you up. Your relationships exist, but they feel surface level. And those dreams you once had, they don't feel dead, just impossibly far away. When you look in the mirror, you don't see a failure. You see someone tired, someone who's forgotten what it feels like to be fully alive. And here's the truth most people never hear: this isn't a modern problem. This is a human problem. 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, wrote in his private journal about feeling distracted, frustrated, and disconnected from himself. Unlimited power, unlimited wealth, same inner struggle. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, admitted his battles with anxiety, anger, and the fear that time was slipping through his fingers. He had everything people chase today and still felt empty. And then there was Epictetus, a former slave. No wealth, no status, no control over his circumstances. Yet he discovered something radical. Real freedom doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. 3 men, 3 completely different lives, one shared realization. If you feel lost, uninspired, or disconnected, you're not broken. You're human. And the good news is this: if this struggle has existed for thousands of years, then so has the solution. And that's exactly where our journey begins. Most people think a fulfilling life happens by accident. Like one day you just wake up confident, motivated, and at peace. But the Stoics knew something we've forgotten. A meaningful life is not random. It follows a sequence. And if you ignore that sequence, you stay stuck no matter how hard you try. Here's the uncomfortable truth: real transformation doesn't start with motivation. It starts with responsibility. Not blaming your past, not blaming the economy, not blaming other people. Just this question: what part of my life am I responsible for starting today? The ancient Stoics didn't believe in quick fixes or emotional hype. They believed in structure, and they followed 3 rules in a very specific order. First the mind, then the body, and only after that the heart. Not the other way around. Most people try to fix their emotions first. They chase happiness, passion, or meaning and wonder why it never lasts. The Stoics understood something simple but powerful: if your mind is undisciplined, your body weak, your heart will always feel lost. These rules are called brutal for a reason. They don't let you hide. They don't allow excuses. They don't work if you stay passive. You don't get results by just watching videos like this. You get results by engaging, reflecting, and applying what hits you. That's why Stoicism isn't comfortable. It asks you to own your thoughts, train your body, and face your inner world honestly. No shortcuts, no blaming, no waiting to feel ready, just daily choices made with intention. And here's the promise: if you follow the sequence: mind, body, heart, not perfectly, but consistently, your life will start to change in ways motivation alone never could. And now, let's begin with the first rule, the one everything else depends on: the mind. Let's start with a hard truth most people avoid. Your mind becomes what it consumes. Just like your body reflects the food you eat, your inner strength reflects the thoughts, images, and ideas you allow in every single day. And if you're honest with yourself, look at the modern mental diet we're all exposed to. Social media feeds filled with comparison. Endless gossip disguised as entertainment. Breaking news designed to provoke fear, anger, or outrage. Is it any wonder so many people feel anxious, distracted, and mentally exhausted without knowing why? The Stoics understood this long before smartphones existed. They believed that mental strength is built intentionally, not accidentally. You don't stumble into clarity. You train for it. Marcus Aurelius warned that the soul becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts. In other words, whatever you let enter your mind slowly shapes who you become. So ask yourself this: if someone else controlled your diet, would you expect to be healthy? Then why allow anyone else to control your mental input? Stoic practice offers a different path. Instead of constant noise, choose reflection. Instead of reaction, choose disciplined thinking. Instead of mental junk food, choose philosophy ideas that challenge you, ground you, and strengthen your judgment. This doesn't mean escaping the world. It means engaging with it wisely. A strong mind isn't one that avoids difficulty. It's one that is selective, trained, and deliberate. If you want resilience, feed your mind resilience. If you want clarity, feed your mind clarity. If you want calm in chaos, choose what enters your thoughts with intention.
See how the leaves fall, my son.
Because before you fix your
remind us
life,
of the fleeting
before you
nature
fix
of
your
all
habits,
things.
before you fix your future, let me offer you something simple but powerful. Theory. Not motivation that fades by tomorrow. A challenge. For the next 7 days, change only the first 30 minutes of your morning, because what you feed your mind at the start of the day quietly decides how you think, react, and endure everything that follows. Here's the rule. For those first 30 minutes, no news. No social media, no entertainment, none. Instead, replace it with one of 3 things. First, philosophy. Ideas that force you to slow down and question your impulses. The Stoics didn't read to escape life, they read to face it with clarity. Second, biographies. Read about people who endured pressure, failure, uncertainty. When you see how others carried their burden, your own feels lighter and more manageable. Third, skill-building material. Something that sharpens your competence. Because confidence doesn't come from comfort, it comes from capability. Now, you might think it's just 30 minutes. Does it really matter? Yes, because discipline isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in what you do before the world gets access to your attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote before dawn. Seneca reflected before engaging with the chaos of Rome. They understood something we've forgotten. If you start the day reactive, you stay reactive. Try this for 7 days. Notice how your mind feels quieter, your reactions slower, your focus steadier. This isn't about productivity.
See how the leaves fall, my son.
It's about sovereignty
They
over your
remind
own
us of
mind.
the fleeting nature of
You
all
don't
things.
need to control the world. You only need to control what you allow into yourself. Start with 30 minutes, for 7 days, and watch how your inner strength begins to return. Most people live their lives chasing goals. Lose 10 pounds. Make more money. Reach a certain level of success. And when they fall short, they feel like failures. The Stoics saw this differently. They didn't obsess over what they wanted to achieve. They focused on who they were becoming. Because goals are external. Identity is internal. You can miss a goal for reasons outside your control, but you always control the kind of person you choose to be. Think about the difference. I want to lose weight is a fragile goal. But I am someone who honors my body, changes how you eat, move, and rest every day, without force. I want success is vague and exhausting. But I create value for others gives you direction. It tells you how to show up, how to work, how to serve whether anyone applauds or not. Marcus Aurelius never wrote about becoming famous or wealthy. He wrote about becoming disciplined, just, and resilient. The results followed, but they were never the focus. Here's the mistake many people make: they wait for motivation to act. The Stoics reversed that. They acted in alignment with their identity, especially when motivation was absent. Ask yourself this: who would I be if no one was watching? What kind of person would I respect in difficult moments? When you anchor your actions to identity, consistency becomes easier. You don't ask, will this help me reach my goal? You ask, is this what someone like me would do? And slowly, almost quietly, your life begins to change. Not because you chased outcomes, but because you became someone capable of them. Fix the identity. The goals will follow. Most people think their limits come from the world, from money, from background, from circumstances they can't control. But the Stoics would say, your greatest limits are rarely chosen. They are inherited. Inherited from parents who tried to protect you, from teachers who labeled you early, from a society that rewards conformity over courage. Over time, these beliefs become invisible rules you never agreed to but still obey.
They remind us of the fleeting nature of
I'm
all
not
things.
good at this. People like me don't succeed. It's too late to change. These thoughts feel real. But they aren't facts. They are mental prison bars, and the door is often unlocked. Epictetus taught that it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. In other words, The belief is the cage, not the situation. Here's a simple exercise. Not to motivate you, but to free you. First, identify 3 beliefs that quietly hold you back. Not the obvious ones, the subtle ones you rarely question. Then, rewrite them not as fantasies, but as empowered truths. I'm bad with money becomes, I am learning to manage my resources with discipline. I'm not confident becomes, I act with courage even when I feel uncertain. I missed my chance becomes, I build meaning from where I am, starting now. This isn't positive thinking. It's accurate thinking. The Stoics didn't deny reality. They stripped away illusions, especially the ones that weaken them. Ask yourself this: what would you attempt if you no longer believed the story that limits you? You don't need a new life. You need a clearer mind. Break the belief, and you loosen the bars. Because freedom begins the moment you realize you were never as trapped as you were told. Rule 1: fix the mind, the daily mind training ritual. Most people try to change their lives by changing their circumstances. The Stoics did the opposite. They trained the mind every single day. Not with affirmations, not with forced optimism, but with disciplined thinking. Because the goal isn't to think positively. The goal is to think clearly. Here's a simple daily ritual the Stoics would recognize immediately. In the morning, before the day begins, take a few minutes and write 2 lists. First, write down 3 helpful thoughts you want to carry with you. Not motivational slogans, but thoughts grounded in reality. Things like, I can control my response, even if I can't control the outcome. Discomfort today builds strength tomorrow. Then, write down 3 harmful thoughts you know tend to sabotage you. The patterns you fall into when pressure rises. I'm running out of time. I always mess this up. This shouldn't be this hard. By naming them, you weaken their power.
See how the leaves fall, my son.
In the evening, return to the page.
Nature of all things.
Review the day honestly. When did your mind help you stay calm, focused, or disciplined? And when did it betray you, pulling you into fear, anger, or distraction? This isn't self-judgment. It's self-command. Seneca believed the day should end with reflection, not distraction. Because awareness is the beginning of mastery. Over time, this ritual does something subtle but powerful. You stop identifying with every thought. You start observing them. And that space between thought and action is where freedom lies. Remember, a trained mind doesn't mean a quiet mind. It means a governed one. Practice this daily, not to feel better, but to become stronger. Because in the end, discipline of the mind is the highest form of freedom. Let's talk about something people brag about: sacrificing sleep. Somewhere along the way, exhaustion became a badge of honor. I'll sleep when I'm dead. I only need 5 hours. I'm grinding. But here's the truth no one likes to admit: when you cut sleep, you're not gaining time. You're borrowing it at interest. 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep isn't laziness. It's maintenance. It's strategy. Think about this: your body can survive a bad meal. It can recover from a missed workout. But consistent sleep debt, that's different. Sleep debt is stolen future potential. Every hour you cut short doesn't disappear. It shows up tomorrow as slower thinking, shorter patience, weaker discipline. It shows up in the meeting where you're not sharp, in the argument where you overreact, in the decision you regret.
See how the leaves fall,
the
my
Stoics
son.
Protecting
They
what
remind us of the
strengthens your
fleeting nature of
character.
all things.
And nothing strengthens your mind like real rest. Because sleep isn't just physical recovery. It's emotional regulation. It's cognitive repair. It's the reset button that keeps your judgment clear. Ask yourself honestly, how many problems in your life are actually exhaustion in disguise? When you're tired, everything feels harder. When you're rested, the same problems feel manageable. This isn't about perfection. It's about standards. 7 to 8 hours. Dark room. Consistent schedule. Not because it feels good in the moment, but because it protects the person you're becoming. You don't build discipline by pushing yourself into the ground. You build it by respecting your limits so you can expand them tomorrow. Sleep is not optional. It's the foundation. Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you felt stuck and didn't move your body all day? Here's something most people overlook: physical stagnation creates emotional stagnation. When your body is still for too long, your thoughts get heavier, your energy drops, your motivation fades, and suddenly, everything feels harder than it actually is. We think we're mentally stuck, but often we're just physically idle. Movement creates momentum, not because it magically solves your problems, but because it shifts your state. You don't need a perfect gym. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need the right mood. You need discipline. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort not to punish themselves, but to strengthen themselves. They understood that controlled physical effort builds internal resilience. A 20-minute walk, push-ups on your living room floor, stretching when you'd rather scroll. Small actions, but powerful signals. Every time you move your body when you don't feel like it, you're teaching your mind, one thing: I act regardless of mood. And that lesson transfers. You start approaching hard conversations differently. Deadlines feel less overwhelming. Stress loses some of its grip. Because momentum is physical before it becomes psychological. I've seen it personally on days when I don't want to think. I move. And somehow, clarity follows effort. So if you feel stuck, don't overanalyze it.
See how
Stand
the
up,
leaves fall, my
go
son.
outside,
They remind
move,
us of the fleeting
not for
nature of all
aesthetics,
things.
not for applause, but because action breaks inertia, and once inertia breaks, progress becomes possible. Let's make this practical, not complicated, not extreme, just clear. Every single day, minimum 20 minutes of elevated heart rate. That's it. Not 2 hours. Not a perfect program. Just 20 minutes where your heart is working and your comfort is slightly challenged. Why? Because daily movement is not about aesthetics. It's about proof. Proof that you can do hard things on command. You can walk stairs instead of taking the elevator. You can drop down and do push-ups in your living room. You can step into a cold shower and stay there long enough to control your breathing. Simple actions. But they build something most people lose: voluntary discomfort. The Stoics trained this intentionally. They didn't wait for life to test them. They tested themselves first. When you elevate your heart rate, you're not just strengthening your body. You're strengthening your response to resistance. Your lungs burn. Your muscles fatigue. Your mind says, stop. And you continue calmly. That moment matters. Because the same voice that tells you to quit during push-ups is the voice that tells you to avoid difficult conversations, to procrastinate on meaningful work, to settle for less than you're capable of. 20 minutes a day rewires that pattern. It sends a message: I don't avoid effort, I move toward it. And over time, confidence stops being a feeling, it becomes evidence. Evidence built daily. You don't need motivation, you need a standard. 20 minutes. Every day. Elevate the heart. Embrace the discomfort. Not to punish yourself, but to prove to yourself who you are becoming. Let's talk about something most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid: discomfort. We chase convenience, climate control, food delivered, entertainment on demand. And slowly, without noticing, comfort becomes our default setting. But here's the Stoic warning: comfort, when constant, makes you fragile. The Stoics practiced something powerful: voluntary discomfort. They chose difficulty on purpose. Not because they hated life, but because they wanted to be stronger than circumstance. When you always choose what's easy, your tolerance shrinks.
They remind us of the fleeting
Small
nature of all
problems feel
things.
overwhelming. Minor criticism feels personal. Delays feel unbearable. But when you deliberately step into discomfort, something shifts. You take the cold shower. You wake up earlier than you want to. You have the hard conversation instead of postponing it. You work on the task you've been avoiding. These aren't dramatic acts. They're controlled stress. And controlled stress builds resilience. Think of it like training. If you never challenge a muscle, it weakens. If you never challenge your will, it softens. Here's a simple daily rule: Choose one uncomfortable action that benefits your future self. Just one. It could be saving money instead of spending it, reading instead of scrolling, saying no when it's easier to say yes. Ask yourself each morning, what small discomfort can I choose today that my future self will thank me for? Because life will bring discomfort anyway. Loss, rejection, fatigue, uncertainty. The question isn't whether you'll face difficulty, it's whether you'll be prepared for it. Comfort makes you dependent on perfect conditions. Discomfort makes you capable in any condition. And capability, that's real confidence. Choose the hard thing. On purpose. Script Rule 3, fix the heart. We've talked about fixing the mind. We've talked about disciplining the body. Now we need to talk about something harder. The heart. Not romance. Not sentiment. I'm talking about emotional courage. Most adults aren't weak. They're armored. At some point, life hurt them. A betrayal, a loss, a failure they didn't see coming. And without realizing it, they built walls. Walls to block pain. Walls to avoid disappointment. Walls to stay strong. But here's the part no one tells you: the same wall that blocks pain also blocks joy. It blocks connection. It blocks meaning. It blocks love, purpose, depth. You can't selectively numb emotion. When you shut down sadness, you dull gratitude. When you suppress anger, you also weaken passion. And slowly, quietly, something worse than pain happens. Spiritual decay. You go through the motions. You work. You scroll. You sleep. But you don't feel fully alive. The Stoics were not emotionless. They were emotionally disciplined, not emotionally dead. They didn't avoid feeling. They avoided being controlled by feeling. There's a difference. Ask yourself honestly, have you confused protection with strength? Because a closed heart feels safe, but it also feels empty. Fixing the heart doesn't mean becoming fragile. It means becoming open without becoming reckless. It means allowing yourself to care deeply, while accepting that caring includes risk. Yes, you may get hurt, but you will also experience meaning. And meaning is worth the vulnerability. Strength isn't building thicker walls. It's learning to live without them. When people hear the word Stoic, they often imagine someone cold, unshaken, emotionless. But that's a misunderstanding. Stoic strength was never about shutting down. It was about staying open even when it hurt. Real strength is not building a life where nothing touches you. Real strength is being touched by life and remaining steady. Anyone can close off after betrayal. Anyone can become distant after disappointment. Anyone can say, I just don't care anymore. That's not strength. That's self-protection disguised as power. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is controlled exposure. It's choosing to care about your family, even knowing they can disappoint you. It's loving deeply, even knowing loss is inevitable. It's speaking honestly, even when your voice shakes. The Stoics understood something profound: pain is part of being human. But bitterness is optional. You can experience hurt without becoming hardened. You can feel grief without losing gratitude. You can be disappointed without becoming cynical. That takes discipline.
My son.
Ask yourself this:
have
have you confused emotional numbness with resilience? Because numbness feels stable, but it shrinks your world. Openness feels risky, but it expands your life. I've seen people who shut down after one painful chapter. Years later, they're still safe. But they're also stuck. Strength through openness means this: I will allow myself to feel, but I will not allow my feelings to control my character. You don't have to broadcast your emotions to everyone, but you also don't have to bury them to prove you're strong. Stay open. Stay grounded. Stay disciplined. Because the strongest heart is not the hardest one. It's the one that remains open and still stands firm. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Who are you when no one is watching? Not the version at work. Not the version on social media. Not the version your family expects. The real one. Many people think they only wear masks around others. But the deeper problem is this: some people wear masks even when they're alone. They avoid their own thoughts. They distract themselves constantly. They stay busy, so they don't have to confront the quiet truth inside. Seneca warned about this. He spoke about ending the performance not just in public, but within yourself. Because as long as you're performing, you can't grow. Self-deception is comfortable. It lets you blame circumstances. It lets you rationalize weak habits. It lets you say, this is just who I am. But honesty is disruptive. It forces you to admit, I'm not as disciplined as I pretend. I'm avoiding that conversation. I'm settling. That sting you feel when you tell yourself the truth, that's not shame. That's clarity. And clarity is power. The Stoics believed that self-examination was daily work, not self-criticism, self-awareness. At the end of the day, ask yourself, where did I act with integrity? Where did I hide? Where did I perform instead of being real? This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about alignment. Because the greatest freedom in life is not approval from others. It's the relief of not pretending anymore. When you stop performing for the world and stop performing for yourself, you finally have something solid to build on. Truth. And truth, even when uncomfortable, is where real strength begins. Let's slow this down. We've talked about discipline. We've talked about resilience. Now I want to give you something practical, a quiet exercise to reconnect with your heart. Not your image, not your resume. Your heart. Ask yourself this first: what would I do if I couldn't fail? Not what sounds impressive, not what's realistic. If failure was removed from the equation, what would you pursue? Would you start the business? Change careers? Repair a broken relationship? Write the book? That question exposes desire without fear. Second question, what do I pretend not to care about but actually do? Maybe it's recognition. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's creative work. Maybe it's your health. We often downplay what matters to protect ourselves from disappointment. It's not that important. I'm fine either way. But indifference can be a shield. And the final question, the hardest one, who am I when no one is watching? When there's no applause, no validation, no pressure to perform. Are you disciplined? Are you kind? Are you honest? Or are you drifting? The Stoics practice daily reflection, not to judge themselves, but to align themselves. Because when your actions match your values, you feel steady. This exercise isn't about dramatic change overnight. It's about clarity. And clarity is courage. When you answer these questions honestly, you stop living accidentally. You start living intentionally. And that's when the heart stops hiding and starts leading. Let me ask you something honestly. How much emotional weight are you carrying right now?
Fall, my son.
Not
They
the
remind
visible
us of the
kind.
fleeting nature of all things.
Not the responsibilities on your calendar. I'm talking about the invisible weight. Resentment. Fear. Self-anger, old conversations replaying in your mind. Mistakes you can't stop revisiting. Someone who hurt you years ago and somehow still occupies space in your head. Here's the truth: emotional burdens don't punish the past. They drain the present. Resentment feels powerful. It feels justified. But in reality, it keeps you tied to the very thing you claim to be over. Guilt can be useful if it teaches you. But if it lingers without action, it turns into self-sabotage. And self-anger, that quiet voice saying, you should be further by now, it doesn't make you stronger. It makes you hesitant. The Stoics believed in responsibility, not self-torture. If you made a mistake, learn from it. If someone wronged you, accept that it happened. But don't keep reliving it as if pain equals progress. Forgiveness is not approval. It's release. You are not saying, what happened was okay. You are saying, I refuse to carry this any longer. Because holding on to anger doesn't protect you. It exhausts you. Imagine how much energy you would have if you weren't replaying the same emotional weight every day. Letting go is not weakness. It's discipline. It's deciding that your future deserves more attention than your past. You can't move freely if you're dragging yesterday behind you. Set it down. Not for them. For you. Let me give you something practical. Not a theory. A ritual. For the next 30 days, every evening, I want you to sit down for 5 quiet minutes. No phone, no distractions, just a pen and a piece of paper, and write down one thing you need to forgive. It could be something small, a harsh comment someone made, a mistake you made at work, an argument that still lingers in your chest, or it could be something heavier, a betrayal, a regret, a decision you wish you could undo. Write it down clearly, then do something most people avoid. Feel it fully, not dramatically, not endlessly, just honestly. Notice the anger, the embarrassment, the sadness. The Stoics didn't suppress emotion. They examined it so it wouldn't control them. After you've felt it, say this quietly to yourself: I choose to release this.
See how the leaves
Not
fall,
because it
my
didn't
son.
matter,
They remind us
but
of the
because
fleeting
carrying
nature
it
of all
longer
things.
costs too much. You may not feel instant relief. That's not the point. The point is training. Each night, you are teaching your mind that you are not owned by yesterday. Over 30 days, something subtle happens. The emotional charge weakens. The story loses its grip. Your posture changes. You begin walking lighter. Forgiveness is not about approving what happened. It's about reclaiming your energy. 5 minutes a night, one thing at a time. Release it, and make space for who you're becoming. Let's talk about purpose. Most people treat purpose like it's hidden somewhere out there, like a treasure waiting to be discovered. But the Stoics saw it differently. They believed in sympathy, the idea that we are all interconnected, that your life is not separate from the lives around you. And here's the shift: purpose is not found by thinking. It's created by serving. You don't discover purpose sitting still. You build it through action. Look back at your life for a moment. When did you feel most alive? Was it when you were only focused on yourself? Or was it when you were helping someone, building something meaningful, contributing in a way that mattered? Purpose leaves clues. You feel energized instead of drained. You lose track of time because you're fully engaged. Your skills naturally benefit other people. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. We often overcomplicate this. We think purpose has to be dramatic, a huge mission, a big platform, a grand impact. But sometimes purpose is raising your children well, leading your team with integrity, mentoring one person who needs guidance. Service doesn't mean self-sacrifice to the point of burnout. It means using your strengths in a way that improves the lives around you. And here's the paradox: when you focus on contribution, your own fulfillment follows. The Stoics understood that isolation weakens meaning. Connection strengthens it. So instead of asking, "What is my purpose?" try asking, "Where can I be useful right now?" Purpose grows from usefulness, from responsibility, from contribution. And when you live that way, you don't just feel important, you feel necessary. And that changes everything. Let's bring this together. Transformation isn't random, it isn't luck.
See how the leaves
And it
fall, my
isn't
son.
a single
They
breakthrough
remind
moment.
us of the
It's a
fleeting
cycle.
nature of all
Mind,
things.
body, heart. Your mind directs your body. What you believe shapes what you do. If you believe you're weak, you act cautiously. If you believe you're capable, you move differently. Then the body strengthens the heart. When you prove to yourself physically that you can endure discomfort, your emotional resilience grows. Confidence becomes evidence, not affirmation. And the heart fuels the mind. When you live with openness and purpose, your thoughts gain clarity. You stop thinking small because you're living intentionally. It's a self-reinforcing system. Change one area consistently, and the others follow. Here are the truths you cannot ignore. Your thoughts are choices, not facts. You don't have to believe every story your mind tells you. Body discipline builds life discipline. How you treat your health reflects how you treat your future. And vulnerability, not armor, is the source of meaning. Perfection is not required. You will miss workouts. You will have emotional setbacks. You will doubt yourself. That's human. But consistency is power. Greatness is not built in dramatic moments. It's built in daily decisions no one applauds. And transformation? It doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with responsibility. Responsibility for your thoughts, your habits, your reactions. You don't need a new life. You need new standards lived daily. Mind, body, heart. Start there and keep going.